Well, Illinois went to the Pizza Hut parking lot and responded, throwing some haymakers at Michigan State early, and they hold on to win this Big Ten bout 79-74. It's Jeremy Werner, Derek Piper. We're in basically the Michigan State men's basketball offices here, and a huge win for Illinois. Big road victory. Brad Underwood's first at Breslin Center, which is a huge I guess that's a huge notch on the belt for him, Derek, because Tom Izzo is kind of his idol in this conference, kind of who he wants to be in this conference. And now Illinois, with that win for a third straight year, is going into the final 2 weeks with a chance to win the Big Ten championship. So great response. Kofi Coburn looked like Big Ten Player of the Year, 27 points, 9 rebounds, most of that in the second half, 19 points. Jacob Grandison was phenomenal, 24 points in a Illini high. Makes 6 3-pointers on 10 attempts. The rest of the team only made 2 on 17 attempts. And then Trent Frazier just took over late and hits the dagger 3, Derek. 3 stars that really stepped up to that.
Yeah, it was a big deal. It was a nice response for a team that with a lot to play for. I mean, you're getting into the moments of crunch time in the season, and each one mattering a ton in this Big Ten title chase. And you look around, there's a lot of hardware in this type of building. And to get one of your own, this is where you had to go in and win and be able to respond. And I know that when they beat Michigan State in Champaign, Brad said, if there's any program I want to be like, it's that one. And for all those reasons, for their success, their consistency. And yeah, I think that the team obviously responded well to what Brad was saying and throughout the week through the media and everything that was going on in practice and calling out his guys and saying, look, we can't be coasting right now. This is the time to be building and playing our best basketball and not to be soft and lifeless. We got to act like it matters. And they certainly did that tonight, really at both ends, especially in the first half. Their defense is really good. It exploited the fact that Michigan State has stretches of ugly offense and has some warts offensively. Kofi Bingham did not have a very good game. So then he was on Marble, on Hauser a little bit, was dominating that matchup. It's great to see Grandison have the confidence. Speaking of Hauser, I thought he did a terrible job of guarding him. I thought he gave him a lot of open shots in the corner. But obviously you got to be able to knock those down. And then for Tyson Walker to go full Dimitri Trice at the very, very end, and the building finally started to amplify. It was a broken play, and when you have a guard that's been around as long as Trent Frazier has, I mean, as many big plays that he has, and now that has won as many games as he has, step up and make that shot is a really big deal. And to walk out of here with a win was certainly huge.
Yeah, Brad said it was 13 seconds too early. Well, that would have been a shot clock violation if you'd have done that. But he shot it with 7 seconds left. But I love that kind of confidence and aggression. Of course, you love it because he made it. But he stepped up huge. He had 7 straight points to kind of keep Illinois' lead at double digits. And then not only Trent to hit that shot, but Kofi to make some big buckets late, some big free throws late as well. That was huge for Illinois to do that and to get a huge turnover, force one of those late in the game. I thought that showed a lot of resolve. I mean, you mentioned it to bounce back from Rutgers. There's a lot of resolve in that second half when Tyson Walker was making everything he threw up, and kudos to him. Hogard looked great in the first half. So they had some point guards finally doing something for them. But I thought Illinois showed a champion's resolve and being able to handle that atmosphere, handle the zone, and to be able to find some ways to make some plays down the stretch and not let them tie the game or take the lead.
Yeah, because they had a lot of momentum building there. All of a sudden, what was a 16-point lead, I think with 9.5 minutes to go, was down to 4, down to 3. And Walker had it at 2, within the last 2 minutes. So to be able to step up and answer those responses, they weren't getting stops, but they were scoring. They were having guys step up and make plays at the offensive end to just keep that slight advantage and make sure that this thing didn't completely slip away. And that would have been just a gutting loss. To have back-to-back losses, to be in control throughout for as much as they were, if that was what ultimately happened. So you had to face some adversity, and I think this is a moment you can look back on, whether it's within this chase the last 2 weeks or you're in postseason play and it's tight and it's whatever the environment's like, to be able just to find a way to make a big shot or to come out with a win. And that was certainly a closing time victory that they can feel pretty good about.
Yeah, and I asked Izzo about Illinois and Brad Underwood being a Big Ten contender basically the last 3 years and what Brad has done, because think about it, Tom Izzo is really the only other coach in this league that knows Illinois is a top-notch program, like from a decade and a half ago. So, but he couldn't stop talking about Trent Frazier, because even though Trent started the game 0 for 6, I think, from the field, all from 3, I believe, too. he played great as a distributor, getting Grandison those open looks, taking advantage of Hauser kind of playing off him, right? Played great defense. Max Christie struggled yet again today, 3 of 9 from the field. And then they put him on Tyson Walker late. That didn't even really help all that much, but I thought he played great. And then to show up and make those kind of plays down the stretch, that's what you need out of Trent Frazier. Like Trent Frazier is so key for this team to make an extended run. He's got to get hot and see him bounce back like that. You see the win at Indiana. These guys seems to like these road environments, these big moments. And it's good you got a guy like that because Kofi needs some help. And he certainly got help today from Grandison in the first half and Trent in the second half.
Yeah, it says a lot just from the defensive standpoint that a 5-star Max Christie is what now 4 for 17 against his home state school against Illinois. And for Trent Frazier to have a lot to do with that and not giving him any kind of comfort, any kind of space. And really one of the buckets that Christie had was that and one, and it was a transition. It wasn't a Trent Frazier possession that he got one on him. Trent shut him down and certainly made him quiet. Now I know that he was switching around. He had some on Hogard in the second half and then also on Tyson Walker once he got going. But yeah, I think that it is really important that you have his scoring confidence come back because the Indiana game was great. He was awesome in that game and made big shots, but there have been a little bit of a lull here where I know that he's still someone that you can put the ball in his hands and have make a right pass, but his shot making has lacked a little bit. But for him to be bucket getter Trent Frazier late, and then in the first half, the driving kicks. I thought Illinois' execution offensively was really, really good. I thought they were getting to Kofi, they were spraying the ball around the perimeter shooters, and Trent's driving kick was a big part of that.
Yeah. Let's bring up Kofi Coburn. Let's not just let this 27-point performance, 9 rebounds. Like I know we're used to it, but this is getting ridiculous. You almost have to sit there and go, this isn't normal what he does. And he just took over for stretches in the second half there, Derek, especially early in that half to kind of keep Michigan State that double-digit lead there. So for him, Marble, I thought battled him, but just wasn't big enough for him. Bingham really struggled. I was really interested to see that matchup between length, athleticism against Kofi's size. And Kofi had some turnovers, brought the ball down a little bit too much, but 4 turnovers. You're going to deal with that if he's going to have 27 points on 10 of 15 shooting, as well as 7-9 from free throws. That's huge to make 7 of 9, make them pay for that. Made some clutch ones down the stretch. Tom Izzo said he's far better than he was last year with the way he's able to make some post moves. And he said, he's bringing more energy. And I think Brad did bring up something the other day about, hey, Kofi's our best player. He's got to lift us. And, he got his stats in some of these games, but he's got to elevate this team and come up with some big plays. And he did that in the second half.
Yeah, and Michigan State has made it tough on him better than anybody in the Big Ten throughout his career. I was looking up his stats and obviously didn't play in Champaign earlier this year, but 3 games against Michigan State, had shot 37% from the field and only averaged around 10 points and 7 rebounds, which in the realm of Kofi Coburn is not very much production. I know that for some guys you'd be like, oh, that's decent, but no, for him to go 27-9, 5 offensive rebounds, thought he was composed when he had one-on-one matchups, getting to his drop step, thought he was strong, and then getting second chance opportunities was a big deal as well. So that was a dominant effort. And yeah, Bingham has the size and the shot blocking to contest shots, but he was really out of the game, had 3 turnovers and only played 13 minutes because he wasn't any good. And then Marble, after some of the there were times where Kofi kind of forced it into him and didn't have himself gathered or really controlled. After that, he was burying him in the paint one-on-one, and Hauser had no chance. And then obviously they started collapsing, and then it got some other guys' shots. So that was a big time performance from Kofi, a Big Ten Player of the Year type of performance, and that's what you needed out of him.
Yeah, I thought defensively, Illinois in the first half was just locked in. I thought they did a fantastic job. I think DeMonte Williams deserves a shout out here because he was just in passing lanes, getting his hand on balls, a couple steals, including a breakaway layup. I thought he was great. The Coleman Hawkins came off the bench and gave a lot of energy. I think he's starting to give that consistently and get back to that role. He offensively, right? He had a nice take to the hoop, I believe it was, and, was able to get that finish. But the block shot he had on Malik Hall trying to dunk it, 4 rebounds in just 14 minutes, 2 assists as well. He had a great entry pass to Kofi Coburn. We should mention Jacob Grandison. I think 5 assists. I would imagine all of them were to Kofi today. So I thought those guys did a great job of that. But DeMonte and Coleman gave some really good energy. And after DeMonte was a little bit challenged by Brad Underwood last game, he was part of that crew that he really wanted to show a little bit more toughness. I thought that was a nice response for him, and nice growth from Coleman Hawkins, who's starting to string together a couple of nice performances.
Yeah, DeMonte had 2 steals early, and it felt like throughout the first half, like he was getting his hand on the ball almost every defensive possession. He was playing with great energy. He had that pick six, the steal and layup early on, and I thought Coleman was really good. I know he was only 1 of 4 from the field. His shot, that was the confident pull up, the step back jumper that was. I was like, oh, whoa, where's that been? So maybe now a guy that is certainly playing with some confidence, playing with a lot of energy too. And you mentioned a very good dump into Kofi where he kind of looked like he was going to elevate and throw it over the top to Kofi for a slam. He also had a great kick out to Jake, like a one-handed.
That was right in front of me. Ball took a nice bounce to him, but he caught it one-handed, threw across his body, across the court, wide open 3 for Jake. And again, that they just every time Michigan State made those little runs until the very end where Walker went crazy, Illinois had a response. They came up with a couple big shots to keep that lead, and that was a huge play there.
It definitely was, on point pass, and Jake buried it. One of his 6 threes, man, he was really, really good. But yeah, that's what you need out of Hawkins. I think that a guy that now is stringing together. He's had his moments where he's going to make some mistakes, but certainly some positives here. The last 3 outings for him, and I think you're seeing a guy that's playing with confidence. I think he understands and feels the confidence from the coaching staff, or just the opportunity, and to have him locked in through this stretch run, it certainly can be very important.
I thought it was pretty telling. Brad Underwood didn't change the lineup. I think he wanted to challenge his team, see how they responded. They certainly did that. I think DeMonte Grandison especially showed up big. I don't know if Alfonso Plummer did. Not great defense from what Alfonso Plummer. Hogard was attacking him in the second half. Plummer barely played late as they went with Andre Curbelo, who I thought did give some defensive energy. Had some struggles at times, especially in the second half defensively. But I thought Curbelo gave some energy, got after the glass a little bit. I thought he was really good defensively in the first half, just struggling offensively to finish a little bit right now. So you still got that next gear you can get to, because this is 3 guys carrying a heavy load offensively with Grandison, Coburn, and Frazier, basically combining for, 51, 63 of your 79 points today. So huge for those guys to step up, but there's still more I think you can get out of those guys. And I think Andre's starting to get a little bit more confident. And I think it does say something that Brad showed some confidence in him, Derek, to play him late, to trust him on defense. He had the big runner. He got to the free throw line, split a pair of free throws. So to get him a couple of those plays, I think is important. And, him and Trent together offensively can be tough to handle.
Yeah, they certainly can. And just you're trying to take some positives and have things click for him and have him feel like he's starting to be back. And yeah, his finish at the rim was really good. I think that he did bring really good energy defensively. I thought he had a great defensive rebound at one point, chasing down a loose ball and then pushing it the other way. Those are the type of plays that you want to see from him. So there's still time, and it says a lot about Illinois really to be 12-4 in the Big Ten, tied for first. All the success that they've had, and I thought that they couldn't win the league unless Curbelo got back close to what he was last year, and that's hasn't been the case yet. And maybe it will ultimately be, down the stretch of you'll have to see him, be a big time impact player in a key game, whether it be Michigan, Ohio State, whatever it may be. But for Illinois to hit its ceiling, it's obvious that they need him. We'll take pressure off of Trent, can get in the lane and all of that. So I think it was, well, the numbers don't say, he had a great day by any means, and there's still a lot more that he can do. I think that hopefully he can use that as a positive because he's just got a lot of potential. Just want to see him play the right way and utilize his skill sets.
Some of the numbers you really like seeing if you're Illinois after Brad challenges them: 32-16 points in the paint, 19-8 second chance points, 38-36 rebounding advantage, I think is huge for Illinois. 17 assists, a lot of those in the first half, but also 17-23 from the free throw line, making some big free throws down the stretch. I thought was huge for this team. Let's reset this, Derek. Illinois ties up Purdue atop the Big Ten, 12-4, 2 weeks left to go. Ohio State's coming into town Wednesday. We're recording this, and it's halftime, and Iowa's leading Ohio State and Columbus by 1 point. Ohio State right now, at least before that game is over, has the same amount of losses as Illinois at 4, but they got 9 wins. So they got a lot to make up. But Ohio State's been a tough matchup at times. Illinois did beat them twice last March within 8 days, including the Big Ten tournament championship. EJ Liddell, we know, is an Illini killer, but another huge game. Got to protect home court. What do you think of Illinois going into the final? We're down to 4 games here in Big Ten play, 3 of them at home, right? I mean, Illinois has got it set up well. Where Penn State, Iowa at home late in the season, Ohio State this week. Got to protect home court. If you protect home court, Derek, you feel like you got a really good chance to win the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, in hindsight, when you think about the road trips to Indiana and Purdue, you got one of those. You go on the road to Rutgers and Michigan State, you get one of those. I mean, you'll live with that. And then to set up where you've got 3 of your last 4 at home, take care of business. And I think that the Penn State and Iowa games, I know analytics love Iowa. Does Iowa have a quad one win yet? I don't think they do. That would be a development for them. Now they could get one if they finish this off in Columbus, but you're in a pretty good spot. Now, I don't know. We'll see Purdue at home against Rutgers. I would still think Purdue gets it done, but Rutgers is as hot as anybody. Their final stretch isn't all that tough. They're going to come to this building. We'll see how Michigan State can handle them, but
at Wisconsin
is really the big one. If they win that game, they might win out. So can Illinois win out? They're capable. They're certainly capable. The one in Ann Arbor is certainly one you're gonna wonder about. But you responded well. I didn't think Illinois was going to run the table the rest of the way. I didn't think, we might not see Purdue or Wisconsin do it either. So this was the type of win that you needed. And it was encouraging because I think that you found some shots with Jake getting it going again, with Trent making them late. You pieced the defensive end with, I thought both sides of the ball were pretty good, and then you rebounded. So they're in a good spot. And certainly everything, all the controls in their hands.
6-3 on the road in the Big Ten is nothing to scoff at, right? Like 6-3 in the Big Ten. You've won at Michigan State. You've won at Indiana. Obviously, Northwestern Nebraska. You want to win those games, and Minnesota. But you win at Iowa too, which is not an easy place to win. That's a quad 1 victory there. So I think it's really impressive that Brad Underwood's team continues to do that. And right now they are doing math in my head while we do this. 6-1 at home. You get 9-1 at home, 7, and if you can win a 7th on the road, that's a Big Ten championship right there. So despite a little lull, Derek, a little lull of the season does not determine the season. They got a chance to get some momentum. That's really tough to do in the Big Ten, though, right? I mean, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Iowa. Penn State just beat Michigan State as well. These aren't easy games, but you got Kofi Coburn, you got a guy like Trent Frazier, you got some shooters around him. Even though shooting's still a bit of an team issue, 8 of 27 today. What do you think about this team down the stretch?
They haven't yet played their best basketball, which I think is still exciting about if you get to that point, if you hit your ceiling and have the shooting click with Kofi, with Curbelo, and then, young guys like Melendez or even a sophomore in Hawkins just kind of all complementing it. And again, we don't know that it's all going to come together. You hope that you're playing your best basketball late. And I think Brad Underwood teams have certainly done that here the last couple of years. But I think that you like where you're at. I know that the projected seeds come out today and you're a 3 seed and a chance to solidify that, or maybe even potentially climb into a 2 spot if you were to win the Big Ten title. Maybe probably need to win the Big Ten tournament. But 3 seed would be pretty good. 2 seed would be pretty good. You're in a pretty good spot.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, we sit there and you say, like, they're not even playing the best basketball. Like, we can think that, and it's probably true. Like, it hasn't been the prettiest, but they keep finding ways to win. And that's why Brad Underwood deserves to be near the top of the Big Ten Coach of the Year conversation. I know the NCAA tournament committee sounded like it said today Illinois was maybe even higher than some other people thought because they've had these injuries. And when they've been whole, they've been a pretty dang good team. So even if they don't hit the run that last year's team did, which was crazy, looked like a 1 seed, got a 1 seed, basically 1 out to end the season. This is a really good team, and they're a problem for anybody. And I think they showed that with what they did to Wisconsin, what they did to Michigan State, what they've done against fellow Big Ten title contenders. The 2 flubs you've had are at the hottest team, Rutgers, at Maryland, and against one of the best teams in the country in Purdue. So I think this team's pretty dang good. Even if you're like, oh, can they piece it together? I think today is a really impressive win. It's a good team to take that kind of lead and then to hold on and make the plays late. I think that's a sign of a really, really good team, even if it's not the prettiest team at all times.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, things are going to be tough. You're on the road. Things are going to get tough. I mean, it would have been nice to cruise once you're up 16 and completely just. I know there was 5 minutes left, and a couple of fans were hitting the exits because they didn't think Michigan State was coming back. I didn't see Tyson Walker going and do what he's doing, but yeah, you got the win in a tough building, and there's a lot to like about this team. You know what type of challenge they can present to people, because not everybody's gonna be able to handle Kofi. When you can't, even to an extent like a Michigan State today, he's gonna dominate you. When you're gonna have people hit shots like Grandison, and if you can get Plummer and Grandison going on the same night, same with Trent, that's gonna be tough. They're gonna be a really tough out. And
it shows today like how important Grandison is to space the floor, to give you something to alleviate all the pressure on Kofi. I mean, Kofi's a given mostly every night of 20 and 10. I mean, he's proven that over an entire season. You just if you make 8 plus threes, this team is really, really good. They weren't efficient doing it tonight on 27 attempts, but if you get those guys making a couple and confident, that's where this team just becomes really dangerous, Derek. And that's where we have this ceiling we haven't quite seen this year, despite all the success, because it hasn't all clicked all at once with Curbelo, the shooters, and Kofi. Still good towards March, and that's what makes this team really, really exciting, potentially down the stretch.
Yeah, and I think that's why Brad has still remained fairly, pretty optimistic, just because of the shot quality, because there are good shots. I think that, Plummer doesn't hit one today, but he was taking some tough ones, but he's had good looks. Like at Rutgers, he had good looks.
Trent early had a lot of open looks. Like he had a couple of late shot clock that you don't, worry too much about, but he had some open looks he just missed, and he kept shooting and made some big ones, including the dagger.
Yeah, and it will provide that spacing around Kofi. We'll get back to the really truly picking your poison type of deal. And if Curbelo can be the guy that gets in the lane and makes the right plays and picks his spots correctly about when he's going to try to score and when he's going to dish it out, and to feel like he's back to in rhythm if he gets there. If we're going to have to see him ultimately get there, that's where you're a load offensively. And we know this team can defend. We know they can rebound when they're fully engaged and giving the type of energy that Brad's going to demand out of them. They can do a lot of things well, and they certainly can be a tough out. So, and then, yeah, I mean, let's circle back to the guy that I think that, Izzo has had a lot of really, really good guards over his time. He would love to have Trent Frazier.
And I asked him in the post game about, hey, Brad Underwood, Illinois had a down decade. What has he done? And he just pointed to Trent Frazier and said, he's the constant. Brad's recruited well, coached well, but he goes, if I could trade Trent Frazier, I would. I'd trade myself to Illinois so I can coach them, and then I would have Trent Frazier here because he could be the player coach. Like, he just heaped a bunch of praise. He uttered Mateen Cleaves comparison to him about the importance. He said, to make a Final Four run, you got to have a guy like Trent Frazier. So, dear Hall of Fame coach who knows a lot, as you said, about great guard play, heaped that praise on Trent Frazier. I thought said a lot. And if he gets going, if he gets on one, Derek, we know what Trent Frazier heaters can do.
Yeah, and this is what you want this time of year. You're mid to late February and pushing on into March, and your season's on the line. And just Trent's last ride, I asked him about that, and just kind of recognizing that there's a lot to play for, a lot of moments to make, and this is certainly one he's going to remember for a long time. But yeah, to have the ball in his hands when there's so much to achieve still for this team, that's a pretty good feeling for Brad Underwood. There's not a lot of coaches out there that have had someone that is that experienced, talented at both ends of the floor, and certainly in a very good place right now.
Yeah, if he's confident, look out. March could be fun. All right, for Derek Piper, I'm Jeremy Werner. Thank you for listening to the Illini Inquirer Podcast. We'll have plenty of content from this game, including catching up with Georgie Bashanishvili. Joey Wagner will have something on that. Derek Piper will have a column, all my player grades, and a lot more coming from East Lansing. Again, for Derek Piper, I'm Jeremy Werner. Everybody have a great day. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you next time on the Illini Inquirer Podcast.